Hey everyone. Today we're going to step back into a time when the Caribbean sugar fields whispered rebellion, when Europe's richest colony stood on the edge of chaos, and when a man once enslaved would terrify one of the most powerful generals in history, Napoleon Bonaparte. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And as always, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I love knowing our little storytelling crew is scattered across the globe, tuning in together. Now let's listen to the compelling story in this video of mine. You shuffle along a dirt road in the tropical heat, Saint Domingue, 1791. This place is called the Pearl of the Antilles, profitable colony on Earth. But the wealth comes at a cost. You can smell it before you see it. Sugar. Sweet and heavy, mixed with sweat, blood, and the rot of cane husks. Slavery drives everything here. 500,000 enslaved Africans work themselves to death for white planters who live in mansions perched like watchtowers above their suffering. You glance around and see whispers of change written in the faces of the enslaved, quiet gatherings after dusk, murmurs of a powerful voodoo ceremony held in a remote clearing where a priestess and priests swore the people to freedom. You feel it in the air, an electric charge that says something is about to snap. At night, you hear the forests come alive with secret meetings. People talk about the French Revolution happening across the ocean. Liberty, equality, fraternity. But those words don't mean much when you're forced to cut cane until your hands bleed. For the enslaved, liberty isn't a pamphlet in Paris. It's a machete in their hand. Then it happens. You wake to smoke, columns of it curling above the plantations. The cane fields are on fire, and so are the mansions. You run with others, carrying torches, swinging machetes. The sound of drums echoes from deep in the hills, calling enslaved people to rise up. Everywhere you turn, people are breaking their chains and setting their world on fire. The revolt spreads like a hurricane. Planters flee toward the coast, clutching what little they can carry. Some escape on ships, others don't. The enslaved, once silent and broken, are now an unstoppable force, and you feel the shift in your bones. This is no simple riot. This is war. European powers watch in shock. Spain and Britain see opportunity. France sees its richest colony slipping away. And at the heart of it all, one name begins to circulate among the rebels. A man with unmatched skills. A man no one expected to lead. Toussaint Louverture. For now, though, the sky is painted with fire and freedom songs. And you, covered in soot, sweat, and ash, know there's no turning back. The spark has become an inferno, and it will change the world. Open quote. Open quote. Open quote. You stand at the edge of a small plantation where the cane fields meet the mountains, and for the first time you hear the full name whispered, Toussaint Louverture. It doesn't mean much to you yet, just another name carried on the smoke of revolution. But soon, it will shape everything. Toussaint was born on this island, in bondage like you, but he was different. His enslavers saw something in him, intelligence, discipline, and made him a coachman, a position of unusual trust. While others sweated in the cane fields, he learned the roads, the horses, and the timing of every cart and shipment. More importantly, he learned people, how to read them, how to win them, how to move unseen. As you walk through the hills, an older man beside you recounts a story about young Toussaint. He had been small, sickly even, yet fiercely independent. Instead of breaking under the lash, he sought knowledge, sneaking moments to learn reading and writing, which was illegal for most enslaved people. He absorbed every detail of herbal medicine and local geography, which would later help him heal men and move armies like chess pieces. Toussaint has a mind like a trap, the man says, and a heart like a drum. It beats for freedom. You nod, unsure if you're following a man or stepping into a legend. In those early days of the uprising, you meet him for the first time. He's older than you expected. Graying hair, piercing eyes, calm even as chaos surrounds him. He isn't the kind of leader who yells or postures. Instead, he listens, calculates, and then gives orders like he's already 3 moves ahead. Stay close to the mountains, he tells your group, pointing at the map he's scratched into the dirt with a stick. We control the high ground. We control the war. France, Spain, Britain, they all underestimate us. We'll make them regret it. You can see it already. Toussaint isn't just another fighter. He's thinking bigger. While other rebel leaders talk about revenge and survival, he talks about supply lines, alliances, and keeping civilians safe. He's playing a long game when most of you are thinking about tomorrow's meal. His vision doesn't mean he's soft. You watch him train men, drilling them in European military tactics adapted to the Caribbean's brutal terrain. He preaches discipline, no looting, no harming civilians, and it shocks you. In a world drowning in violence, Toussaint insists on rules. If we become what we hate, we lose everything, he says. By the time the sun dips behind the hills, you know you're following someone special. His reputation is already growing beyond the island. Planters speak his name with fear, rebels with reverence. And as you march into the night, carrying a battered musket on your shoulder, you realize you're no longer just running from slavery, you're marching towards something far bigger. Something Toussaint seems to see clearly, even when the rest of you cannot. You don't know it yet, but this man will outthink Napoleon Bonaparte himself. For now, he's just the quiet coachman who became the leader of the most dangerous army in the Caribbean. But soon, the world will call him Louverture, the opening, because wherever he steps, doors to freedom swing wide. Open quote, open quote, open quote. You wake to the smell of smoke again, only this time it's deliberate, organized, and everywhere. The night before, Toussaint had gathered everyone under the thick cover of the forest, outlining his plan with the same calm clarity as if he were mapping a chess match. Tonight, he said, the cane fields will burn, not one plantation left standing in this valley by dawn. You clutch a torch, the wooden handle slick with sweat as you creep through the dark with dozens of others. The sound of drums hums faintly in the background, steady like a heartbeat, and you feel the energy ripple through the ranks. For centuries, these fields symbolized pain and bondage. Tonight, they would become a beacon of resistance. The first fire takes quickly. Dry cane ignites like paper, the flames racing across the field in seconds. Heat lashes your face as you turn, sprinting toward the next plantation. Machetes flash in the moonlight, not against people, but against chains, gates, and storehouses. You see enslaved families emerging from the shadows, carrying children and meager belongings, joining the rebel lines as though they've been waiting for this moment all their lives. You watch a young rebel leader cut the ropes on a line of draft horses, slapping their flanks to send them thundering into the night. Others smash sugar kettles, dumping their contents into the earth. This isn't random destruction. This is strategy. Every torch, every strike, every freed horse is meant to starve the colonial machine of its lifeblood, sugar and profit. Move fast, someone yells. French troops will be here before dawn. They come sooner than expected, local militias, armed and panicked, hoping to quell the uprising. You see Toussaint's influence immediately. Instead of charging recklessly, your group melts into the high grass, taking positions exactly as he taught. High ground, cover, fallback paths. When the militias advance, expecting chaos, they're ambushed from angles they never saw coming. A few shots ring out, then silence. The militias retreat, leaving their dead behind. By sunrise, the sky is a canvas of ash and orange light. The once wealthy heart of Saint-Domingue is unrecognizable. You stand on a ridge, chest heaving, watching columns of smoke stretch for miles. You know this isn't over. This is only the beginning. But for the first time in your life, you feel what freedom might taste like. In the following days, word spreads fast. Plantations are falling one by one, rebels are multiplying, and Toussaint's name is becoming legend. He isn't leading from behind. He's everywhere, talking with freed families, checking on supplies, personally inspecting defenses. He rides a horse with the calm assurance of someone who has already seen victory in his mind. A week later, you find yourself beside Toussaint again, overlooking a burned valley. He speaks quietly, almost to himself. They think this is chaos, he says, gesturing at the smoke. But this is order, our order. We're breaking their chains and forging our own. You realize then that this isn't just revenge, it's a revolution, and you are right in the middle of it. Word count. Open quote, open quote, open quote. You sit by a campfire high in the mountains, staring into the flames while listening to whispers about a plan that sounds almost impossible. Toussaint Louverture has been busy, not just fighting, but negotiating. He's been sending messages to Spanish commanders across the border in Santo Domingo, to British officials lurking offshore, and even to French Republican leaders. What's he doing? You mutter. A veteran rebel next to you laughs. He's playing them all like a fiddle. French want order. Spain wants the colony. Britain wants the sugar. Toussaint, he wants freedom, and he's going to make them fight each other for it. The war has splintered into chaos. French royalists, loyalists to the king, are battling French republicans who swear allegiance to revolutionary Paris. The Spanish and British smell opportunity, hoping to grab a chunk of this profitable island while France is distracted. And here you are, one of thousands of rebel soldiers caught in the middle. But Toussaint? He isn't caught. He's orchestrating. When you finally see him again, he's surrounded by maps and messengers. He looks tired, his uniform patched and worn, but his voice is sharp. Spain offers arms and freedom for our soldiers if we join them against the French, he says, but their freedom is not guaranteed. Britain promises support, but will enslave us again once they win. France, divided as it is, has declared freedom for no one here. So we play them against each other until they all beg for our loyalty. Then, he pauses, we choose our moment. You march under Toussaint's banner into one of the most unlikely alliances yet, temporarily siding with the Spanish against the French. The Spanish give you weapons, ammunition, and uniforms, and for months you fight as their auxiliaries, ambushing French garrisons and cutting supply lines. You feel strange wearing another country's colors, but Toussaint assures you it's only temporary. Allies today, obstacles tomorrow. Every battle teaches you something new. Toussaint's army isn't just strong, it's disciplined. He drills everyone, teaches European battle formations, but adapts them for the jungle and mountains. When French troops expect an easy fight, they find ambushes, false retreats, and perfectly timed strikes waiting for them. Then, as quickly as it began, it shifts again. News arrives. Revolutionary France has abolished slavery in all its colonies. For the first time, a major power declares you legally free. Toussaint gathers everyone, his face lit by firelight. This changes everything, he says. The Spaniards fight to keep slavery. France has freed us. Our loyalty changes tonight. You can feel the hesitation in the ranks. After months of fighting France, now you're switching sides? But Toussaint doesn't flinch. Our loyalty is to freedom, not to flags, he says. The moment they betray it, we will leave them too. By dawn, you're marching again, this time wearing French cockades on your hat, fighting your former allies. It's dizzying, but Toussaint's confidence keeps you steady. He's not serving Spain, Britain, or France. He's serving something larger, an independent Haiti, even if he doesn't say the word aloud yet. From that moment, you know this man isn't just a general. He's a visionary, a strategist who sees 10 steps ahead. And somewhere across the ocean, one man named Napoleon Bonaparte will soon discover that this former slave is about to become his greatest nightmare. You march with aching legs along a dirt road turned into a river of mud by the tropical rains, muskets slung on tired shoulders. Only a year ago, you were cutting cane and dreaming of freedom. Now you're part of a revolutionary army unlike anything the Caribbean has ever seen. Toussaint rides ahead on horseback, straight-backed, focused. He has just pledged loyalty to France, not because he loves them, but because they have abolished slavery in every colony. It's a tactical move, a pivot that turns a chaotic slave revolt into something far more dangerous, a liberation war under a national flag. The change is immediate. French commissioners arrive with formal ranks, proper uniforms, and supplies. You receive a rifle, real boots, and, astonishingly, wages. The ragtag rebel groups are reorganized into disciplined units. Toussaint personally oversees the training, drilling recruits daily. He tells you, a disciplined soldier defeats 10 who run wild. And he's right. The first major test comes at a fortified outpost held by Spanish loyalists. You crouch behind a ridge, rain dripping from your hat, waiting for Toussaint's signal. His plan is bold. Use a night march through flooded cane fields to flank the outpost and strike at dawn. The march is miserable, waist-deep in water and muck, but when dawn breaks, you emerge on their undefended side like ghosts from the earth. The attack lasts minutes. When the smoke clears, the tricolor of revolutionary France waves where the Spanish flag once stood. Over the next months, Toussaint leads victory after victory. You fight alongside hardened veterans and fresh recruits who follow Toussaint as if he were a prophet. His presence in battle is uncanny. He seems to know where the enemy will strike before they move. He uses local knowledge, secret mountain trails, and even weather patterns to his advantage. There's one moment you'll never forget. During a siege at a sugar refinery turned fortress, Toussaint calmly dismounts under enemy fire, picks up a cannon ramrod, and personally helps load and fire artillery to inspire exhausted soldiers. The man who once led horses now commands battalions. But Toussaint's war isn't just fought with bullets and bayonets. He writes letters to French officials, to British admirals, to Spanish generals, always bargaining, always buying time. He frees captured enemy soldiers rather than slaughtering them, building a reputation as both ruthless strategist and honorable commander. By year's end, the tide has shifted. The Spanish retreat. The British, who had landed on the western coast, find themselves facing not scattered slave bands, but a modern army led by a man they underestimate. One British officer mutters after defeat, "This Louverture fights like he studied Europe's finest generals." He hasn't. He's invented something new, a fusion of guerrilla warfare and European discipline. You return to camp one night and hear him speak to the men. "We were slaves, now we are soldiers, but soon we must be something greater, citizens of our own making." You feel something stir inside. This isn't just survival anymore, it's destiny. And for the first time, the idea of an independent Black Republic doesn't feel like a dream. It feels like a plan. Open quote, open quote, open quote, waiting for continue, close quote, close quote, close quote. You wake to the sharp rhythm of drums, not for ceremony this time, but for drills. Toussaint Louverture's camp is no longer the ragtag hideout it once was. It's a military machine. Rows of soldiers march in unison, muskets gleaming in the Caribbean sun, uniforms crisp even after days in the field. You look around and realize something extraordinary. This army isn't just surviving, it's thriving. Toussaint has turned former slaves, runaway Maroons, and freed men into one of the most disciplined armies in the Western Hemisphere. He doesn't just train you to shoot, he teaches you to think like a soldier. How to maneuver, how to retreat strategically, how to hold formation under fire. Discipline is freedom, he tells you during an inspection. If you break when the cannon fires, you're a slave again. If you stand, you're free. This approach terrifies France's enemies. The British, still smarting from earlier defeats, mount a massive campaign to crush you. They bring elite regiments, naval bombardments, and local mercenaries. But Toussaint's army is different now. You fight them head-on at key mountain passes and lowland forts, often outnumbered, yet somehow victorious. In one battle, you watch Toussaint execute a tactic nobody expected. He feints a retreat into the mountains, luring British forces into a narrow ravine. Then, at a single trumpet blast, hidden units spring an ambush from both sides. Musket volleys crack like thunder, and by the time the British realize the trap, it's too late. The rout is total. British officers later confess that they faced the Black Napoleon, a nickname that sticks, though you know Toussaint's genius is uniquely his own. Even more stunning is how Toussaint cares for his soldiers. When disease sweeps through camp, yellow fever, dysentery, he personally oversees quarantine and medical treatment. An army dies in its stomach and its lungs before it dies on the battlefield, he tells you. He establishes field hospitals and secures steady food supplies, something European armies often fail to do in the tropics. The victories start to stack up. Entire British garrisons surrender. French commissioners, once skeptical, now praise Toussaint as indispensable. And he's not just winning battles, he's winning hearts. Freed people flock to his banner, and even some white planters pledge loyalty because Toussaint protects their property in exchange for allegiance. He is no longer merely a rebel leader. He is the de facto ruler of Saint-Domingue's military landscape. But Toussaint's ambitions don't stop at the battlefield. He begins drafting laws, setting up systems of labor contracts to replace slavery, and establishing schools. If we fight only to destroy, we will have nothing left, he says. We fight to build. One evening, you overhear two French officers talking in hushed voices. This man will be our undoing. He fights like Bonaparte and governs like one too. You can't help but smile. They're right. The once enslaved coachman has become a statesman and general of unmatched skill. And for the first time it hits you, this revolution isn't temporary. This is something permanent, something the whole world will have to reckon with. The war slows, but it doesn't end. Instead, it transforms. You're no longer just chasing enemies through cane fields. You're helping build something new. Toussaint Louverture has shifted from warlord to nation builder, and you're standing in the middle of it. You see it firsthand when he calls an assembly at Cap Français, the colonial capital now under his control. The once lavish square, where enslaved people were sold like cattle, is packed with free men and women, black, mixed race, and even some white planters who've accepted the new reality. Toussaint climbs the steps of the courthouse and unrolls a parchment, a new constitution for the colony. He reads it aloud, his voice steady. Slavery is abolished forever. You glance around and see hardened soldiers wipe tears from their eyes. Then comes the part that shocks even you. Toussaint Louverture is appointed governor for life. You feel the weight of those words. Governor for life? Is this freedom or something new entirely? But Toussaint doesn't pause to bask in power. He explains, we need stability. We need labor. We need to prove to the world that a free black colony can thrive, not descend into chaos. He outlaws slavery permanently, orders everyone to work, not as slaves, but as paid laborers on the plantations, because sugar still funds the colony. It's controversial. Some former slaves resent having to return to fields, even as free workers. Toussaint tells them bluntly, without production, we will be crushed by foreign powers. You see the pain in their faces, but also their respect. They trust him, even if they don't like every decision. Toussaint pushes reforms relentlessly. He rebuilds roads, reorganizes agriculture, and even opens schools. You're assigned to protect surveyors, mapping canals for irrigation. It feels strange. Your musket used to fight French royalists. Now it protects men with measuring rods and shovels. But you see progress. Villages are thriving, markets bustling, children learning to read. The Constitution also declares Saint-Domingue an autonomous part of France. But really, it's a state within a state. Toussaint trades sugar directly with the United States and Britain, bypassing French intermediaries. He bans foreign slavery ships from docking and promises asylum to any enslaved person fleeing nearby islands. Word spreads across the Caribbean like wildfire. Haiti is a safe haven. But not everyone is pleased. Former slave owners in France howl in outrage. Even some of Toussaint's allies murmur uneasily about him holding power for life. And across the Atlantic, one man in particular seethes. Napoleon Bonaparte. He has crowned himself first consul of France and dreams of rebuilding a grand colonial empire. In his mind, Toussaint is not a hero. He's a traitor. One evening, Toussaint stands on a balcony, looking toward the harbor. They will come for us, he says quietly, almost to himself. You know who they means. France. Napoleon. And when they come, they won't be looking for compromise. They'll be looking to crush everything you've built. For now, though, the people cheer. The first constitution written by descendants of enslaved people has just been signed, and you feel history shifting under your feet. But in the distance, you can almost hear the creak of ships' timbers and the drumbeat of war returning. The news spreads like wildfire. Napoleon Bonaparte is sending an army, a massive one. 20,000 troops, commanded by his own brother-in-law, General Charles Leclerc, are crossing the Atlantic. Their mission? To retake Saint-Domingue, restore full control to France, and quietly reinstate slavery. You feel the tension like a storm about to break. Toussaint doesn't panic. If anything, he seems sharper, faster, as though every decision carries double weight. He gathers his commanders and lays out a plan that shocks some of them. Scorched earth. If they want to fight for this land, he says, they will inherit nothing but ashes. Your orders are brutal but clear. Burn cane fields that could feed the enemy, poison wells they might drink from, and evacuate villages into the mountains. It feels wrong, watching homes and crops burn. But you understand, this is survival. When the French fleet finally appears on the horizon, it's like seeing a floating city, dozens of warships bristling with cannons. Their uniforms gleam, their formations perfect. These are Europe's best troops, veterans of Napoleon's campaigns in Italy and Egypt. But they're stepping onto an island they don't understand, to fight an enemy unlike any they've faced. Toussaint sends envoys under white flags, trying to negotiate, but Leclerc's orders are absolute. Surrender unconditionally. That night, Toussaint gathers you and others around a lantern. We will not surrender. This is our home. We'll bleed them until they beg for peace. The fighting begins immediately. You're part of a guerrilla unit ambushing a French patrol near the coast. You wait silently as their boots crunch through the undergrowth, then spring the trap. Musket volleys, machetes flashing, and then silence as the survivors flee. You vanish into the hills before reinforcements arrive. This is how the war will go. Not open battle, but constant, grinding resistance. And then, something unexpected joins your side. Disease. Yellow fever sweeps through the French ranks like wildfire. Soldiers who have never endured the Caribbean climate fall sick by the thousands. You see captured prisoners trembling with fever, lips cracked, eyes yellow. This land itself fights for us, one of your comrades whispers. Leclerc grows desperate, writing home for reinforcements. But Napoleon can't replace men faster than the island destroys them. French morale collapses as the jungle seems to swallow entire units. Meanwhile, Toussaint's men, born in this climate, fight on, seemingly invincible. The war gets ugly. The French attempt surprise raids, even capturing some of Toussaint's officers, but they can't hold territory for long. At one point, they seize the city of Cap Français, but within weeks, supply lines break, sickness rises, and they're trapped. You watch from the hills, fires burning in the distance, as the invincible French army slowly unravels. Still, Toussaint knows Napoleon won't quit easily. They will try diplomacy next, he says grimly, and diplomacy from Paris comes with chains hidden behind the paper. You tighten your grip on your musket. You know what's coming. Betrayal, treachery, and yet another test of whether this revolution can survive the full weight of an empire. You sit in the humid darkness, sweat dripping down your spine as a messenger gallops into camp with news. The French want peace talks. After weeks of brutal fighting and yellow fever decimating their ranks, General Leclerc sends word that he's ready to negotiate. Some of your comrades cheer, finally, an end to the bloodshed. But Toussaint doesn't smile. Peace? He mutters, looking over the letter by lantern light. Peace from a man who came to enslave us again? There is no peace, only strategy. The next day, you accompany Toussaint to the meeting site, neutral ground under a massive banyan tree. The French delegation arrives looking haggard, their perfect European uniforms now sweat-stained and ragged. Leclerc himself is there, polite but stiff, trying to mask the desperation in his eyes. They promise the same things you've heard before. No reinstatement of slavery, respect for Toussaint's position, safety for his officers. Toussaint listens quietly, nodding, even agreeing to a temporary ceasefire. He shakes Leclerc's hand, and for a moment, you almost believe it's real. But Toussaint warns you as you ride back. They will betray this before the ink dries. He's right. Within days, French forces ambush several of your garrisons, killing soldiers who thought the war was over. Entire families you had evacuated are captured, dragged back toward the coast, their fate uncertain. The betrayal comes full circle when you hear the unthinkable. Toussaint himself has been captured. You rush to the harbor, but you're too late. He had accepted another invitation under a flag of truce, believing it necessary to secure peace, and the French double-crossed him. You watch helplessly as a ship sails away, Toussaint aboard in chains heading for France. The camp is stunned. Soldiers stare at each other, rage building like a storm. Some shout, "It's over." But others, especially veterans who had followed him from the start, clench their fists and vow revenge. One voice cuts through the chaos, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Toussaint's fiercest general. "We do not stop," Dessalines growls. "If they think taking Louverture ends this, they are fools. We fight until they are gone, or we are dead." His words ignite something in you, in all of you. The French have stolen your leader, but they haven't broken his army. In the quiet of that night, you think about Toussaint. You remember how he never carried himself like a slave, even when he was won. How he always spoke about freedom not as a dream, but as something already real, if only you had the courage to claim it. And you realize something. Even in chains, Toussaint Louverture is dangerous. His very existence proves the lie of slavery, and Napoleon knows it. As the moon rises, you sharpen your bayonet. If the French thought capturing Toussaint would end this revolution, they have no idea what's coming next. The ship carrying Toussaint Louverture slices across the Atlantic, and you can almost feel the cold iron of the shackles clamped around his wrists, even though you are still in Saint-Domingue. Word spreads quickly. The great leader is gone, taken not by battle but by treachery. For many, it feels like a death knell. But not for you, and not for the army Toussaint built. His absence leaves a hollow space, yes, but it also leaves something else: resolve. Jean-Jacques Dessalines steps up. fierce and uncompromising, his voice cutting through despair like a blade. "We will not kneel," he declares. "Not to Napoleon, not to any man. We fight to the end." Still, you can't shake thoughts of Toussaint himself. You picture him arriving in France, the chill in the air a cruel contrast to the Caribbean warmth he left behind. He is sent far from Paris, locked away in the Fort de Joux, a stone fortress high in the Jura Mountains, built more for isolation than for comfort. There, the silence is suffocating. You imagine Toussaint pacing his cell, whispering strategy to walls that will never answer. He is denied proper food, denied letters from his family, denied even the dignity of sunlight. The cold seeps into his bones, and the once unyielding general begins to weaken. But you know him well enough to picture his posture, back straight, eyes forward, even in chains. On the island, Dessalines channels the grief into fury. He reorganizes the army, hardens discipline, and launches a campaign that makes even Toussaint's boldness look cautious. Ambushes become more brutal, attacks more decisive. Every French patrol captured is a reminder: you can cage a man, but not an idea. The French soldiers still alive on the island feel the shift. Their morale was already wrecked by yellow fever and supply shortages, but now they face an army with nothing to lose. You fight with a new ferocity, carrying not just muskets, but the memory of Toussaint, whose name has become more powerful in absence than in presence. One night, while cleaning your weapon under the pale moon, you hear a comrade say softly, "They can kill him, but they can't kill what he taught us." Another replies, "They don't even know what they've done. He'll haunt Napoleon more from the grave than he ever did alive." And they are right. Toussaint Louverture, freezing and starving in a foreign prison, has already planted a seed too deep to uproot. Every skirmish, every whispered vow in the camps, every rebel child born free is proof. Months later, when news finally comes that Toussaint has died in that lonely cell, you feel the blow like a musket ball to the chest. But even as the grief burns, something else ignites. This war is no longer about one man. It's about all of you. The French think they've won by removing him. In truth, they've created something unstoppable. You stand in the plaza of a captured French outpost, staring at Dessalines as he addresses the troops. The sun burns overhead, sweat trickles down your neck, and your musket feels heavier than usual. Dessalines' voice, raw and fierce, fills the air. "They took our father, our Louverture, but they will not take our freedom. We finish this." The men roar their approval, their grief and anger transforming into a weapon. You feel it too, that molten core of fury aimed squarely at France. If Toussaint was the mind of the revolution, Dessalines has become its fist. Under his command, the war becomes merciless. No more half measures, no more negotiations under false flags. You march through swamps, scale cliffs, and strike at isolated French garrisons with lethal precision. Every engagement is a message. Saint-Domingue belongs to its people now. The French, still crippled by yellow fever and supply shortages, try to regroup, but it's hopeless. Their European tactics, tight formations, and open field charges collapse in the face of Dessalines' guerrilla war. You move at night, attack at dawn, and vanish into the jungle before they can counterattack. Sometimes you don't even fire a shot. Just set fire to their depots and let starvation do the work. One evening, you're sent on a mission to capture a French officer known for brutal raids against villages. You and your unit corner him near a ravine, cut off his escape, and force his surrender. As you march him back, you hear him muttering, "We can't win here. This is their land, not ours." You realize something profound. The invaders finally believe they are the outsiders. Dessalines knows when to press and when to pause. He rallies support not just from former slaves, but also from some mixed-race leaders and even white farmers who now fear France more than local control. The army grows, weapons flow from sympathetic merchants abroad, and morale soars. Yet, in quieter moments, you can't shake thoughts of Toussaint. You remember how he would have handled things differently, negotiating, looking for compromise where possible. Dessalines is different. No compromise, no mercy. Some whisper he's too harsh, that he burns too hot, but no one questions his will to win. Then comes the defining moment. Dessalines formally proclaims that this war is no longer about autonomy under France. It's about complete independence. For the first time, you hear the words spoken without hesitation. Haiti. It's an old indigenous name, given new life as the symbol of a free black nation. You feel chills. This is bigger than even Toussaint dreamed aloud. He wanted liberty and security, yes, but Dessalines wants a country born from revolt, a permanent answer to slavery everywhere. As the camp settles into uneasy sleep, you stare into the night and realize this is the final phase. One last push, one last war, and the world will never be the same. You march through scorched fields that once fed the French Empire, now nothing but ash and twisted cane stalks. Dessalines has ordered total war. No more holding ground for France to reclaim. No more treaties. No more illusions of coexistence. You feel it in your bones. This is the last bitter fight. The French army is crumbling, eaten alive by disease, starvation, and exhaustion. Yellow fever is still the invisible ally by your side, killing soldiers faster than musket fire. You see them sometimes, stumbling along roads, too weak to carry their rifles, collapsing under the relentless Caribbean sun. Yet, even cornered, the French lash out with desperate brutality, torching villages suspected of helping your forces, slaughtering innocents in their retreat. It only hardens your resolve. Dessalines calls you and the other officers together one night. His face is grim, his voice steel. We finish them here. No more mercy. No more chains. His orders are clear. Drive the French off the island completely, so there is no chance they can ever return. You fight in ambushes, seize supply depots, and strike ports where their ships desperately try to resupply. In one battle near Vertières, you experience one of the fiercest fights of your life. French cannonballs tear the earth beside you, musket balls whistle past your head, but your unit pushes forward, bayonets fixed. The smell of black powder and blood fills the air. You hear the roar of Dessalines himself on the front line, rallying the troops for Haiti. The French crumble under relentless pressure. Their commanders, seeing the futility, finally begin secret talks to withdraw, but even as they negotiate, the fighting doesn't stop. Every inch of soil is contested until the last French soldier boards a ship and sails away. When the final French vessel disappears beyond the horizon, silence falls. You stand there, musket dangling loosely in your hands, unsure if you should cheer or cry. After years of war, the impossible has happened. The greatest colonial power in the world has been defeated by former slaves. No one believed it could happen. Not Britain, not Spain, not Napoleon himself. But here you are, proof carved in sweat and blood. The cost is unimaginable. Towns destroyed, families scattered, fields burned. But you feel an overwhelming sense of something new, something priceless. Freedom. For the first time, this island belongs to its people. No emperor, no distant king, no master holds sway here now. That night, you gather around fires with other soldiers. There is laughter, tears, songs sung in Creole and French and African tongues blended together. Some carve Haiti Libre into wood and stone, as though to will it into permanence. Others just sit silently, staring at stars they can finally call their own. But amid the celebrations, a quiet truth hangs in the air. Freedom is one thing, keeping it is another. There will be rebuilding, politics, and hard choices ahead. Yet for this moment, none of that matters. Tonight, you are free. And somewhere far away in France, a defeated Napoleon glares at maps and wonders how a man like Toussaint Louverture, long dead in his prison cell, still managed to defeat him. You stand in a crowded square under a blazing sun, the air buzzing with anticipation. Today is the day it becomes official. Haiti is independent. After years of war, betrayal, and unimaginable sacrifice, this land once called Saint-Domingue has a new name, a new flag, and a future entirely its own. Jean-Jacques Dessalines steps up onto a platform, his uniform scorched and frayed from battle, but his presence radiates power. He lifts his hand, and silence falls over the sea of faces, freedmen, soldiers, mothers holding children born in freedom, elders who never thought they'd see this day. He speaks with fire. We have thrown off the yoke of slavery. We have broken the chains of empire. Today, we declare Haiti free, sovereign, and forever opposed to slavery. The crowd erupts in cheers so loud it rattles your bones. People cry, laugh, fall to their knees. You feel tears in your own eyes. This isn't just history. It's your life. The Haitian flag, sewn from pieces of the old French tricolor with the white stripe removed, rises into the sky. A new symbol, one born from rebellion and unity, fluttering in the Caribbean breeze. Around you, soldiers stand taller, proud to be something they never imagined they could be, citizens of a free Black republic. The ceremony doesn't end with speeches. Dessalines orders the reading of Haiti's new declaration. No Frenchman shall ever own land here again. Slavery shall never return, and every Haitian, regardless of color, is free and equal. It's revolutionary not just for this island, but for the entire world, where slavery still thrives. You see foreign traders and envoys shift uncomfortably. They know this declaration is a spark that could ignite revolts everywhere. Later, you walk through streets alive with celebration. People dance to drums and horns, food is shared freely, and children paint Haiti Libre on walls. You hear an old soldier whisper, "Toussaint dreamed it, Dessalines made it real." And you think back to those early nights in the mountains, huddled around campfires, wondering if freedom was even possible. Now, it's real. It's standing in front of you in every cheering face and waving flag. But even in celebration, there's a shadow. You hear talk of revenge against the French settlers who remain, of harsh new decrees to prevent betrayal, of Dessalines' growing power. Independence has been won with fire and blood. What comes next will determine whether that freedom lasts. That night, you sit quietly on a rooftop, watching fireworks made from gunpowder stores. Haiti is free, yes, but freedom is fragile. You wonder what Toussaint would say if he could see this day, if he could see what his struggle created. For now, you push aside the worry. Tonight belongs to the people, to the fallen, and to a future no one thought possible, a free Black republic standing on the ruins of an empire. Section 14 weeks pass, and the joy of independence shifts into the heavy work of building a nation from ashes. You trade your musket for a shovel some days, a hammer on others, repairing roads, rebuilding homes, and helping clear the charred remains of fields destroyed during the war. Haiti is free, yes, but it is also broken. Dessalines rules with a fiery hand. He declares himself Emperor Jacques I, arguing that Haiti needs strong leadership to survive in a hostile world. Some cheer, believing a single ruler will keep the revolution's enemies at bay. Others whisper that one man with so much power feels too much like the old tyranny they fought to escape. You see both sides. Dessalines is ruthless, yes, but also practical. He knows the French and other colonial powers will try to reclaim this island if given the chance. He enforces strict agricultural laws, forcing former slaves to keep working the plantations, now as free laborers, to keep the economy alive. It's controversial. You hear workers muttering, "We fought to leave the fields, not to be chained to them again," even if it's now under wages and not whips. Internationally, Haiti faces isolation. Most countries, terrified of slave revolts on their own soil, refuse to recognize Haiti's independence. Ships from the United States and Britain still trade cautiously, but avoid full diplomatic ties. French exiles lobby endlessly for Napoleon to send another army, though after his humiliation here, he focuses on Europe instead. For now. One day, you help escort a group of diplomats from the United States who arrive under a flag of truce. They look around at the bustling markets, the armed patrols, the proud Haitian flag flying high. One of them mutters, "A nation of slaves who beat Napoleon. The world won't know what to do with this." You can't help but smile. Good, you think. Let them be afraid. But Dessalines' policies grow harsher. He authorizes the confiscation of property from many of the remaining French settlers, declaring them enemies of the state. Rumors swirl of mass killings, revenge for centuries of slavery and betrayal. You see burned-out estates and hear gunfire echoing in the distance. Some cheer the vengeance, others turn away, disturbed. At night, you sit with fellow veterans around a fire. One says, "I fought for freedom, not for an emperor." Another replies, "Without him, the French will return." The argument goes on until silence falls, the crackle of the fire the only sound. You realize the revolution gave birth to two struggles, one against foreign masters and one for the soul of the nation itself. Yet, despite the fear and tension, there are moments of hope. Schools open for the first time for children of all colors. Freed families settle land of their own, planting food not for export but for themselves. You see smiles on faces that once only knew exhaustion and sorrow. Haiti is young, scarred and divided, but it is alive, something no one thought possible when this all began. And as you look out over the dark hills, you whisper Toussaint's words to yourself, "We are free, and we will remain so." The years roll forward, and Haiti begins to feel the weight of its own independence. You see it in the faces of farmers straining to rebuild plantations, in merchants struggling to find trade partners, and in soldiers like yourself who wonder what it means to wield a musket now that the enemy is gone. Dessalines rules fiercely, often brutally, believing only absolute control can keep Haiti free. He enforces strict work laws to prevent economic collapse, demands unwavering loyalty, and orders harsh punishment for dissent. "We cannot afford weakness," he declares during one tense assembly. You watch as his words echo across a nation torn between gratitude and fear. Then comes the moment that shakes even hardened veterans like you: the massacre of the remaining French settlers. Dessalines, fearing betrayal and future invasions, orders the systematic killing of most remaining white colonists. You patrol streets as frightened families flee or are cut down. Some soldiers cheer, seeing it as long-delayed justice for slavery and betrayal. Others, like you, feel a heavy sickness in your gut. You fought for freedom, not vengeance, and yet vengeance has come all the same. Haiti's name is whispered with awe and dread around the world. In America, enslaved people whisper Haiti libre at night, dreaming of similar uprisings. European elites recoil, calling Haiti a cautionary tale of black power. But no one, not even Napoleon, dares to invade again. Haiti has done the impossible. A nation of former slaves has beaten the greatest empire of its time and kept its freedom. You see positive changes too. Schools open in towns that never had them. Roads are repaired. Markets bustle again. Children born after the revolution grow up never knowing what it's like to be owned by another person. You watch them play in open fields where, not long ago, enslaved men and women bent under the lash. That sight alone keeps you grounded, even as politics grow dark. One day, sitting beneath a tree near your old regiment's outpost, you think about Toussaint Louverture. How he fought not just battles, but for principles, discipline, dignity, vision. His betrayal and lonely death still weigh on you, yet his legacy is everywhere, on every freed face, in every acre of land now owned by Haitians themselves. You realize something profound. Napoleon was right to fear him. A man once born enslaved had shattered the very foundation of empire, and his ideas had outlived him. As the sun sets, you whisper, "We are free," because he dreamed it. Around you, veterans hum a slow, mournful tune about Louverture, their voices soft but steady. Haiti is imperfect, scarred, and still struggling, but it stands. And in that moment, you understand, the fight was worth it. Cool down, 300 words. And so you've traveled the path of a revolution unlike any other. From the sugar fields of Saint-Domingue to the creation of the first free black republic in the Western Hemisphere, you've walked in the footsteps of Toussaint Louverture, a man who rose from slavery to challenge the mightiest empire of his time. This wasn't just a war of muskets and machetes. It was a war of ideas. That freedom is not a privilege handed down by kings or consuls, but a right earned and defended by the people themselves. Toussaint's brilliance turned a desperate slave revolt into a disciplined, visionary campaign for liberty. His betrayal and death were tragic, yes, but they could not stop the tide he unleashed. Even in chains, he remained dangerous because he had planted a seed of freedom that no army could uproot. Haiti's victory sent shockwaves across the globe. It terrified slave owners, inspired freedom movements, and proved that empires were not invincible. It also showed how messy and complicated revolutions can be, how even hard-won independence comes with new struggles and imperfect leaders. Yet, through it all, one truth stands unbroken: Haiti refused to kneel. So, as you reflect on this incredible journey, ask yourself, what would you have done standing beside Toussaint in the mountains, watching French armies close in, knowing everything was at stake? Would you have fought? Would you have believed freedom was possible? If this story moved you, share your thoughts below. What part of Haiti's revolution inspired you the most? And before you go, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. Thanks for listening, and join me next time for another story of history that changed the world. Open quote, open quote, open quote. Finish the script. Enjoy listening and subscribe to the channel for the next video. Close quote, close quote, close quote.